What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy. I'm driving to meet one of my best friends to hang out. So you're getting an episode of Hater going to see his friend, as well as Hater on the road, cuckolds. Hater on the road. This video was inspired by many things, including one of the comments from one of you. I didn't make a note of who made it, but it wasn't someone that I recognized. So, but I was also not looking very intently. So there you go. You know what I mean? The video today is going to be about the fact that seemingly nobody wants to be WWE champion, right? Now, with the World Heavyweight Championship, at least you have one jobber called Sami Zayn who has aspirations for it, right? It is quite astounding that nobody, aside from Sami Zayn, has any interest in being the world champion. In fact, people have more of an interest in being a mid-card champion than they do being a world champion. Now, this is obvious, as evidenced by the fact that the champions are never around. So wanting to be the champion is a futile exercise in wasting your own time. You know what I mean? You're never gonna get a title shot because there's like 4 title shots a year. So you're just not gonna get it if you're, let's say, Chad Gable, right? But you will get multiple intercontinental title shots. So you may as well just readjust your aim and recognize what you're there to do. And that is compete for meaningless titles like the Intercontinental title. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, Hater, the US and the Intercontinental titles have a prestigious history. Number one, I don't care because wrestling's not a real sport. And number two, they really don't, right? They really, really don't. Not in recent memory, at least, right? In the past, sure. In the past, it was presented as an opportunity to break into the main event. And while we've seen some of that today, we don't see enough of it. Now, let's go over the realities of what I'm saying. Number one, there was always this wrestling axiom, this wrestling philosophy, right? That was kind of built into the wrestling ethos. And we still hear it today because we're being lied to, but the idea that becoming champion is easier than remaining champion, right? In other words, it's easier to chase the title because you're not the one being chased, versus if you are the champion, you're being chased by everybody else. However, this is no longer the case. Number one, we've seen Gunther dodge Sami Zayn many times. So the fact that you're being chased is completely immaterial when you, for some reason, as the champion, have the final say in who wrestles you. Why is Adam Pearce concerned with something like the tag team tournament to determine the number one contender for the tag team titles? Why is he not concerned with determining the number one contender for the World Heavyweight title? Likewise, Brutus Magnus on SmackDown is falling short of the same thing. Now it's just the same repeated jobbers, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, having these meaningless matches where we know that these guys are not going to win. Kevin Owens is not going to be the world champion probably ever again. And if he is, it'll be some one-off nonsense. Now, with that being said, what about everybody else? We've got Santos Escobar. We've got LA Knight. We've got Logan Paul when he comes back. We've got AJ Styles. We've got Carmelo. I'm talking only on SmackDown here, right? On Raw, you got like Damian Priest was finally saying, I want to put my hat back in the ring. Then you've got like the people like Finn Balor who are getting pushed by virtue of wrestling Damian Priest. And you've got a bunch of other people like Bronson Reed who keeps saying he wants this, but for some reason keeps going after jobbers, right? Now, it seems that nobody has any interest in being the World Heavyweight Champion or the WWE Champion. But as I said earlier, this is far clearer with the WWE title, right? Because the WWE title, number one, is more important. And number two, it's defended far less frequently. Maybe not far less frequently, but certainly less frequently than the World Heavyweight title has been this, let's say, calendar year, right? Because the other wrestlers defended it. Like, you know what I mean? Drew McIntyre, like, had it. And obviously, it's not a real defense because you got cashed in on. But Damian Priest defended it, you know, pretty regularly. He was wrestling all the time. So there you have it. But the point is, like, there is nobody chasing Cody Rhodes. In other words, there's people that show, like the segment of SmackDown goes as follows. We have a mid-card match involving one of the following three, usually more than one of the following three. LA Knight, Carmelo, or Andrade, right? These people keep feuding over the mid-card title. I don't understand why Carmelo Hayes doesn't think he's good enough to be the world champion. Why not go for that one, right? He wrestled Cody Rhodes and got his ass beat, so now he refuses to, like, wrestle him again? What's the logic? So, after this, we've got Randy Orton and Kevin Owens who don't dare to go after Cody Rhodes' title up until recently because they're his friends, which, by the way, is really lame. That really also kills the myth of you being chased as the champion, right? Then we've got Solo Sikoa, who got his title shot, and since he got his title shot, he's only had one title shot, he's been trying to get another one. It's been like 3 months, and nothing's happened. He's just had meaningless matches with Cody Rhodes. And then you got Roman Reigns, who doesn't care about the title. He cares about Solo Sikoa. And now, by virtue of that, Solo Sikoa cares about Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes is being chased by nobody. Even Kevin Owens, who is almost certainly going to be his next challenger, doesn't care about the title. He wants to beat up Cody for betraying him, presumably, right? And on Raw, it's even worse. It's like Gunther is a guy with no allies and no actual booking. He's just another wrestler, right? So why doesn't Bo Dallas go after Gunther? You know what I mean? Didn't Gunther betray Giovanni Vinci? Doesn't that make Gunther a bad family man? Right? So why doesn't Bo Dallas go after him? Why doesn't anyone go after anyone important? Right? You have Bo Dallas and the entire, like, stupid-ass Wyatt Six, who we haven't seen for like a month and a half, and who I personally hope we never see again. We have these jobbers, and all they do is chase lower-card jabrones. Right? It's like the whole Wyatt Six experiment has been around for like a year, give or take, considering all the promos and everything else. And I remember when the WWE website was taken over by the Wyatt Six, who apparently have a hacker in their midst, right? They said that, like, we are coming and we are going to burn everything down. And thus far, they've done fuck all. They've had one feud. So that empty-ass threat of these jobber nobodies has led to absolutely nothing. I can't believe they've closed Raw several times. Why doesn't anyone go after anyone important? The only answer I can come up with is that in kayfabe, nobody wants to be WWE champion anymore, right? Like, Cody Rhodes is vacant for a challenger. Kevin Owens already had his title shot, right? And he had to be convinced to get the title shot. He had to be convinced. And even then, he was like, I don't know, I don't deserve it. Like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Everybody, literally everybody ever, with some exceptions, I suppose, that has been a world champion should be focused only on the world championship, right? I remember in TNA, there was one segment where, like, Raven was basically condensed into a jobber, and he was the leader of a group called Serotonin, which was a bunch of jobbers, and Kazarian, right? And there was a promo that Raven cut where he was like, I'm back, like, you know, like, and I'm taking this shit seriously, right? Now, everybody knew that Raven wasn't going to be a main eventer, right? But because he had been a former NWA or TNA champion, whatever the hell they called it back then, right? He was like, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I'm a former champion. I have the capacity to be champion. Therefore, I have the capacity to be champion again. But nobody wants to be champion. Like, you have people like Kofi Kingston who are content with being jobbers, right? Kofi Kingston is an exception. I understand that Kofi Kingston's title run was presented as the complete one-off, should have never happened situation that it was. If it were to happen, it should have happened at the end of his career. But even then, he should want to be champion. Everybody that's had the money in the bank, like Baron Corbin, should want to be champion. Baron Corbin shouldn't be happy about, like, hanging out with Apollo Crews in a jobber tag team. Seth Rollins should want to be champion. Like, his issue with Bronson Reed should be framed as follows. I need to get rid of Bronson Reed so that I can focus on the world title. That should be the focus of everybody that's ever had a championship in WWE. If you've never had one, then maybe we can tolerate you going for, like, the mid-card jobber titles. But if you've been a champion, you need to go after the champion. Like, everybody, including Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Like, you know, maybe you have, like, a long-standing beef with CM Punk, but if CM Punk is gone for a month, you should be wrestling every week trying to become champion. So that then, if you beat CM Punk, you can say, I'm the number one contender, or whatever the case may be, right? You need to be working at it. But the fact is that now, as compared to any other point in time in WWE history, it is the easiest time to be a champion because you wrestle 6 times a year, right? You often wrestle against complete jobbers. Like, Cody Rhodes has not had one credible challenger, you know, because there isn't one. The closest one is AJ Styles, and maybe Logan Paul, but none of these guys, like, you know that these guys aren't going to be champion. Then he's had, like, jobber challengers like Solo Sikoa and Kevin Owens, who, like, everybody knows that these guys are never going to be champion. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to happen. Like, the people that think that Sol Sikoa is going to be this, like, world champion are insane. You know, maybe if he loses, like, 30, 40 pounds of fat and gains 20, 30 pounds of muscle, he'd have a chance. Same thing with Jacob Fatu. Same thing with Obafemi. Same thing with anybody that doesn't look good enough. Simple as that, Cucks. But at least people should be chasing it. You know, there are people there that, for example, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, Braun Strowman, right? Braun Strowman beat Bronson Reed. Why isn't Braun Strowman there the next week to say, I want a world title shot? What do I have to do? Why isn't that Sami Zayn just gets one? He beat Sami Zayn. Can I go next? Why is there nobody knocking on the office of Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis and saying things like, I want to be next? Exactly. That's my point, Cucks. Nobody wants to be champion. Everyone is just happy to be there.